Hello, I'm your host, August McElvogue, and I'm here with my guests, Danishel, Raquel, and Shristi. In recent news, ApS delivered a statement saying that they will not cut off power for customers behind on payments. This is in response to a past story in which an elderly woman passed away in her bedroom during September of last year due to ApS cutting off her power for not paying her bills on time. As soon-to-be adults living in Arizona, should these companies have this much control over our necessities? This is SPOTcast. Have any of you heard of this story or of anything similar?
No, I've not.
I've heard about this recently.
No, I have not either.
As people who will be paying bills in the near future, how does it feel knowing a company can make these decisions?
I'm horrified because as someone who lives in a state with triple degree weather, any of us could end up like the lady.
I would have to agree on that. As we all know, Arizona gets really hot, especially during the summer, like the months of June and July. So knowing that these companies can cut off our power with a snap kind of scares me a little bit.
So to sort of continue with that, as Arizona residents knowing how hot it gets here, do you think this should have been allowed to happen?
I don't think this should have been allowed to happen since, as Raquel said before, it gets really unbearably hot during summer, especially in the months of June, July, and sometimes August, where the heat gets unbearable for anyone, especially for us Arizona residents who've been living in this state for either a long time, or people who haven't been living here for a long time. The heat gets very unbearable, and it could affect someone, since you can possibly get heat stroke while walking down the road.
Do you think the law should be changed?
I think the law should be changed because there are a lot of people that have medical and health conditions that they need to be in an air-conditioned room, and for companies to just cut off power like that should definitely not be a thing, as so many people suffer during the weather here in Arizona, as there is a high risk of skin cancer, heat strokes, and stuff like that.
Given that power sort of become a necessity to living, do you think we should even have to pay for these necessities?
I think to some extent we should. Well, for example, if someone misses their payment for a month, I feel the company probably shouldn't cut off their all their power necessarily at that right moment, the day after, if they don't pay their bills, since again it gets too hot here, so that could probably affect their way of living if it gets too hot in their house, and they can possibly get heat stroke or something like that. So yeah.
I think this is just another form of capitalism where people just want to make money off of other people. So I don't think we should pay for these necessities.
Should the government mandate companies to provide these necessities even when people miss their payments?
I think I said in the other question, I feel the government should mandate companies to provide these certain necessities even if people miss their payment, since it should go for either states that get unbearably cold and hot. Being Arizona gets unbearably hot during the summer, I feel even if you miss a payment for a month, like I said before, it really shouldn't give the company a yes to cutting off your power the day right before if you miss a payment. So I feel it's not really fair, since this state is gets really hot and it's unbearable for some people.
Yeah, I agree with that, because there are some people that just can't meet the deadlines of their payments, whether it's because they lost their jobs or having trouble with family. Some of them just don't have the necessary amount of money during that certain deadline.
Do you believe ApS responded adequately?
I don't think they did, because Arizona gets really, really hot. So to cut off someone's power like that, that's not nice. But I don't think they care about being nice, so.
I mean, I don't think they responded adequately, judging that this lady died in 2018, if I'm correct, and then APS responded like a year later, but that's the fact that they didn't know this happened. But I feel like they didn't really respond adequately to the situation.
I mean, I can understand with their statement that they're like temporarily not going to cut off power. It would make sense if it was during like the really hot months in Arizona, or like the really cold months.
Should anybody from APS be facing jail time for the death of this woman?
I don't think APS should be like necessarily be facing jail time. Well, it can go either or. For me personally, I feel like they should be somewhat responsible for what happened. I don't think it's it's either or. I don't. My mind is either going they should face jail time or they shouldn't. But I guess they just need to acknowledge that their action caused someone to die. So yeah.
I think they should narrow it down to who was the person or the team that cut off the power and talk about consequences that they should be facing. But they should also take this experience as a time to reflect on what their actions caused a person's life, and hopefully not do this again in the future.
Okay, that will do it for this episode of SPOTcast. I would like to thank my guests Danishel, Raquel, and Shristi for being here. For Spot 127, I'm August McElvogue.